this team can be fixed easily, or does this require major overhaul and massive changes, or?
It is a postmortem, but like as I said, these things all can be fixed, and whether they're major or minor, we'll have to decide.
So this team could be back to respectability next year?
Without question. Without question.
How difficult has it been to motivate a team that, you get 10 or 11 guys who won a Stanley Cup, and they know what it takes to win a Stanley Cup, and you lose a 30-goal scorer, you lose a top 4 defenseman. How tough is it to kind of get them motivated, and if they don't think they have what it takes?
Well, I don't buy that. I mean, I don't buy that they need motivation. I mean, there are teams that win with rosters lesser than ours, so I don't buy that.
But having won it already.
Right. Well, if you go back to when we won, we've lost players since when we won too. Yeah. And we've lost players since we went to the final. So that happens. There's roster turnover. Yeah. But I mean, I'm not avoiding your question, Steve. Like there's no question losing again on Boychuk. But I mean, this is a game. You got to turn over your roster. You need to bring up talent. You got to bring in talent. That's part of the business.
Yeah, but having won it already, I mean, do you sense a lack of hunger at all in these guys?
Well, that's a complacency question. Like I don't think I don't see the will. I don't see the will. Whether you want to put it as complacency or I don't see that push. I don't see that. Haven't seen it.
Why?
So I mean, your first part of your question was, is it because they're not motivated because 2 players were off the roster?
Well, I mean, they've won it, and
but the Gimlin wasn't here when he won it.
Yeah.
My point is that things change, and things have changed since 2011. And we went back to the final, and we lost players.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
The way things started the off season going into this year, and you're talking about Ginla and Boychuk, it might have sent a signal off, and I've heard players use the word and phrase transition year for this year, and feeling like maybe there was some sort of long-term view that this wasn't going to be a year when you're going to be able to win the cup because you're sort of moving from one year to the other. I mean, is there any sort of upper management view of the season like that? Is that
Well, Joe, I don't. Again, and that's a variation of Steve's question. I don't buy. Like the transition year, we have a strong core in this team, and there's some of these players didn't perform to expectations. They haven't. Again, I'm getting right into the postmortem thing, but the teams in this league have had roster turnover and have had success. Teams in this league haven't had roster turnover from successful years, and some haven't had success. So there's no magic potion as far as upper management. Belief on a transition year, no, but at some point we have to bring in players. We just can't keep everybody and keep signing everybody, and you just can't do it in a cap world. So you're saying our guys are saying, or some guys are saying that it's a transition year. If you look back at our roster turnover every year, we're trying to bring new players in. So I don't see it as any different.
Do you think this is a team that's always at its best relied on that system, which is a great defensive system and requires a lot of hard work and effort, obviously? We haven't seen that many really, really good system games this year, I don't think. Not consistently, certainly.
No,
is that a lack of that push?
Well, I talked about our offensive chances remaining relatively the same. Our chances against have gone up. So that part of the game has changed to a certain degree. So that's a foundation block for our team, and this year that's been different.
Is that guys not buying in, or guys not working hard enough?
I don't know. The one thing that I've seen is our game is predicated on strong defensive play and strong breakout, and one thing has to happen first before the next thing. So there's been a weak spot in the first part with strong defensive play. So subsequently, the breakout hasn't been the same. We've historically been, I think, one of the best breaking out teams in the league, and we haven't had that. So, again, we really got to dig deep, and if we don't make it, we got to dig deep. Whatever, we have to dig deep regardless as to these issues, and we will.
When you talk about the will or complacency issue, is that something that's been addressed, perhaps with individual players over the course of the year?
Yeah, at least this stuff. you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, as you know, underneath. Like, and there are meetings, there's large meetings, there's small meetings, all that stuff. Like, this stuff doesn't just come up now and think, you know what, this is what we see in hindsight, maybe we should have looked at, this is stuff you see. You know what, it's about winning battles. We've prided ourselves on winning the majority of battles, and that hasn't happened this year.
Any type of those meetings happening today, or is it just telling guys get away from it and show them outside?
So
If the overall defense had been better, do you think that would have?
The defense, the actual personnel, or the
No,
playing
the
defense?
overall team defense, had that been better throughout this year, maybe even this last segment, would that have made it easier for you guys to get to your rush game, your transition game, maybe improve the quality?
I would think so, but even like these last couple of games, like, I mean, we don't want to put the season in the last couple of games, but like we either outchanced them or same number of chances, and we couldn't execute on chances. So it's not that our defensive system is completely out of whack. It's not as good as it was, but I also see us not willing these scoring chances, not willing, whatever verb you want to use, but just not executing, not wanting to, or not having either the ability or the willingness to pay a price to score.
When you talk about complacency, how much of that falls, do you believe, on the players, and how much of that falls on the coaching staff not getting more out of those players?
Well, if you want to apportion blame, Joe, again, everyone's to blame. So, I mean, again, we can get into that, but everyone's to blame. Like, whether it's, and myself included, if I don't get the right players, if the coaching staff doesn't get the out of the players, and if the players don't perform.
I guess my question is, do you feel like the message has gotten stale from the coach that's been there for a long time with the players? Do you feel like the players are still sort of, getting that message from him and applying it out on the ice?
I don't think that message has got stale. I don't read too much into it, because like, don't be the headline of a tweet.
Right.
I mean, like, this is stuff that we're all under review, Joe. Okay, we're all under review, and that'll happen following this weekend, and that's what I can say about that.
Would Dougie be a possibility for tomorrow, or is he for the rest of the regular season probably?
He won't play tomorrow.
I missed the very beginning of this, obviously. How disappointed are you of where the team is at this point, having, to need other teams' help and being at this point in the last
I'm
game of the year?
disappointed. We put ourselves in this position, and I consider it a failure, and it's a failure on everybody's part. But being a failure doesn't mean there has to be a complete overhaul of everything. Guys fail, teams fail, and they get back on their horse. And so, again, I consider it a failure, but you don't always succeed in this business. You don't always hit the ball out of the park all the time, and you gotta get back and do your job. And we've shown we can do that. But right now it's pretty disappointing.
Good.
Okay?
Thank you.